Maxing started as gaming slang for grinding away at one single statistic, strength or speed or whatever the leadership board cared about. And now it's being used across the internet for ruthlessly optimizing one dimension in your life. This week, we are talking about token maxing. So, what happens when that logic gets applied to AI inside of organizations? This is when we treat AI token use as something to maximize rather than as the cost of getting useful work done. I'm Emma Muller. I am the CEO and founder of Lumiera, and I'm joined by Allegra, our CTO and co founder. Hi, Allegra.
Hi, Emma.
Okay, so let's start with the basics here. What is a token?
A token is roughly a chunk of text. It can be a part of a word also. And both your prompt when you're using an AI system and the AI model's response get counted here. And most modern Gen AI systems charge by tokens. Cost scales with behavior. So, really long prompts or large context windows, all of that adds up. So, what feels like one workflow can become a surprisingly large cost center in your organization when it's running at scale.
So, how does it work when a cost metric like tokens become a performance metric instead?
It starts with a pretty understandable gap. So, right now, boards are asking for AI ROI, and leaders don't have great ways of showing it yet. And so, token usage is right there. It's in the dashboard. It is usually built into these tools they're using, and it goes up over time. So, it's easy to point to. And so, it starts to serve these two purposes, one as a cost signal, and then the other as a proxy for progress. And the tricky thing is that once usage becomes visible, it also inevitably becomes social.
So, when you say social, what does that mean? Is it the whole sort of competitive leaderboards kind of dynamic?
Yeah, it's exactly that. So we've seen companies build internal leaderboards ranking employees by their AI token consumption, and they're giving out titles for the heavy users, and they're tying AI activity to performance reviews. And not just any AI activity, but rather how many tokens that they're using. And it pretty quickly becomes people optimizing for the number rather than the outcome. So they're running unnecessary tasks or they're padding their prompts with a lot of information to boost their token usage.
So they are basically bloating their own usage to reach the top of the leaderboard.
Exactly.
Interesting. Is it only a bad thing? Are there any positive outcomes of token maxing or any ways that it can be used in a good way?
So the visibility into usage, into token usage, is not inherently bad. So when you're using token data well, it can tell you a lot of useful information. It can say whether your employees are actually trying the tools that you've rolled out, whether a workflow is inefficient or if it's burning your budget, and so on. So in the early stages of a rollout, especially if you're working on AI adoption in your organization, a flat usage curve can point to a training problem or a trust problem, not just a cost one that might need attention. I'm personally a huge data fan. I think telemetry is extremely useful, but the question is whether you're using it to understand your systems or if you're using it to rank your people.
Got it. And what does the research actually show about whether high usage translates to high output or high value for organizations?
There's been some really interesting data on this recently in engineering teams specifically. So, heavy AI users were shipping more, but the token cost per unit of work was dramatically higher. So, you're spending a lot more to get a proportionally smaller gain, which is fine if you know that that's the trade off you're making. It's not fine if you think that the usage number is the proof of value.
Okay, so if we cannot only go to looking at measuring tokens to make sure that we get value out of AI in organizations, what should leaders be tracking instead?
There are two questions that really often get blurred together that are important to separate out. So the first one is how much AI are we using? And then the second one is what useful change is that AI actually producing? They are not the same question. The first one is purely the token usage, and the second one matters more.
Okay. And what role should tokens play in AI transformation then?
Yeah, so tokens still have a role. Obviously, they're the core of how these systems are working as well, but it's just one part of an equation. So they can help you understand whether an outcome was achieved efficiently, for example. They don't define success on their own, but you can understand sort of how much had to go in order to get a certain output at the end. And a healthy organization can use this token data to spot inefficiencies and improve workflows and work better with their teams. But unhealthy ones are going to use it to rank people or pressure teams into more usage, whether it helps them or not. So, real AI maturity isn't about how much compute you can consume, but it's about whether your organization knows what to do with AI and what not to do with it.
That's really useful, Allegra. Thank you for explaining the concept of token maxing. And for those of you watching, you can read the full newsletter on our Substack. And that also includes a diagnostic framework for what to measure instead. Thank you, Allegra, for your time.
Thank you, Emma.